Hey, what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior. So, for this video, I want to talk about something that's very deep, dark, kind of, and personal. But of course, I also want to talk about other things that are more lighthearted. But because they're on the same topic, I'm going to combine what should be two videos into one. It is going to be lengthy, like always, so you can choose to walk away, just listen, or of course, skip ahead, watch part of it now, part of it tomorrow, whatever you choose to do. But if you are a foreigner or a Japanese person that is subscribed to me or not, I highly suggest that you listen to everything that I have to say because it can save you problems in the future, it can save you money, and if you're a foreigner, it'll give you some insight on not only what's it like teaching in Japan, but living in Japan if you choose to have children. So before I get into the actual video, yes, I dyed my hair. Yes, I cut my hair. Yes, I am darker. I got a very deep tan, and I'll probably get darker as the summer goes on. Yes, this is a new lip color. I am wearing Revlon in shade Matte Bone Fiery. I don't think this exists outside of Asia. I think this is a Japan exclusive because the other videos that I saw on this, they didn't have the shade name or color. But anyway, we're not talking about that. Please excuse my voice. I'm still sick, and my audio, as I mentioned a long time ago, my camera is actually broken. I'm having trouble with my audio, so that's why it's really the audio sounds super weird. But that's not what this video is about. I'm just answering those questions for those of you that are subscribed to me and that have been here for a minute. You're probably like, why does she sound so weird? Or why does the audio sound strange? That's the reason why. So, let's move along. As always, this is my YouTube channel. These are my own personal opinions and experiences. I know that there's going to be some random white guy or Chinese dude that wants to be a Japanese supremacist so freaking bad and is going to comment and be like, oh, America is so much worse, blah, blah, blah. Don't talk negative about Japan. I already have videos on that stuff. When you leave dumb comments like that, I'm either going to clap back at you or I'm going to screenshot you and laugh about it. You just sound like a dumbass. So, back on subject. I don't care about your opinions. This is my channel for my opinion. So you don't have to agree with me. And you kissing Japan's ass is a part of the problem. This stuff needs to be talked about and it does need to be changed. So, also keep in mind, me critiquing Japan does not mean that other countries don't have the same or worse problems. I am talking about where I live. And because Japan is a first world country, and it does have a powerful dollar, aka yen, I would expect more from such a place. So, anyway, let's move along and get on to the actual topic of this video. So, the first reason why I would not put my child inside of an international school, despite the fact that I am a teacher at more than one international school, is several different reasons. But the biggest one is, they're expensive and a waste of money. These schools do not really teach your child work and material at their level. It's creating an English environment, but they're learning from so many different native speakers mixed with non-native speakers that they develop normally bad accents. They don't know how to spell things properly because they've been taught how to do things the Canadian way, then the American way, then the British way, then the Aussie way, and it's like, huh? And beyond just the little stuff like that, they're not learning anything. I have literally turned down jobs because they had a curriculum that made no sense. I will make a separate video on that, but long story short, I interviewed for a job at a kindergarten, and when I nicely tried to critique I got the job, actually was hired. When I got the outline for it, I was like, wait, hold on. Why are we teaching? I kid you not, you guys. They had chemistry for 5-year-olds. And so I was like, what? And sure enough, the head teacher that made the outline was from Colombia. He wasn't a native English speaker. And so I tried my best to say it in the nicest way. He took offense to it. I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. They tried to beg me to stay. It was a lot of backstabbing back and forth. I was like, yeah, okay, you guys are crazy. No thanks. I'd rather work somewhere else, higher pay, less stress. So I was like, okay, yep, I've had enough. These people, this guy is crazy. There was so much backstabbing and secret talking. Like the owner was talking about the head teacher behind his back about how they were going to get rid of him and give me his position. And It was a total hot mess. But I'll make another video about that. That'll make a great story time. For this video though, let's stay on topic, you guys. So yeah, it's overpriced. They're not learning things that are at their level, and it's really just a lecture school. Even with the job that I have now at one of my companies, I will not say which one. My class is run the way it's supposed to be for their age, but even like the work that I'm having them do is kind of advanced for their age. And while it is stuff that they need to learn, when they go to their, the next grade, next year, they go from doing preschool and kindergarten work to doing 3rd and 4th grade work, and even beyond that. And it's like, these are kindergarten and 1st grade age kids. Why are they doing, such complicated science and math and even the English? And I feel like even a lot of the games that they call themselves having the kids do, they're really complicated. Like, it's not something that a normal 5-year-old can do. Now, some of the students do catch on and understand, but it's like, are you paying all this money for your kids to have a good time, or do you really want them to learn English? And if you really want them to learn English, this is not the place to take them. They're going to learn a whole bunch of crap they're never going to use in the real world. And while they might be able to understand commands and talk in English while they're young, this is not the type of stuff that will stay with them as they get older. They will forget this vocabulary. They won't have the needed vocabulary to have a normal conversation. And they're learning stuff that's so advanced that they're not even really learning it. They're just listening to you and watching you. So, I mean, for example, you can't do a whole freaking chemistry project in front of a 5-year-old and expecting to like actually remember the names of the items. And then like even when we do appropriate stuff, they use words that are too big, complicated, and just not relevant. Like, for example, when we were learning about the different kinds of vehicles, it's like, wait, hold on, I didn't even know what that was called. So it's like, why are they learning how to read and write this stuff? And then like even with like sight words and stuff, which as a legitimate teacher, I do not like sight words. I believe that is the dumbing down of English, and particularly for Americans. I think it is no different than this new way to do addition and whatnot, where you're like basically doing what looks like a long division type problem. I can't even explain it. But it's like, what? Who came up with this stuff? So off of that, those are my main reasons. You're basically paying for nothing. You're paying for a daycare is what you're really getting. They're not really doing work. And most of the work that they're doing isn't age appropriate, and they're not really learning. They're really getting the answers and getting lectured in English. I do not see it as being worth it. And if you're someone here that has mixed children, I think it's an even worse idea. While you might be protecting your children from being bullied somewhat, you're not really helping them. You're going to cause them to get bullied as soon as they leave that school. Because if they're spending all day in English, even if you're speaking to them in Japanese at home, they're going to naturally have a stronger English ability than their Japanese, because they spend all day at school and they're only with their mom and dad for a few hours. And not just that, it adds to the foreign and gaijin and exoticness to them when they go out into the real world. And that is exactly what your child doesn't want once they get older. Everyone's experience and story is different, but why take a chance and, potentially ruin your child's life? Your child could end up being that outcast kid, the one that has the accent, the one that can't relate to having been to public school because they were at a foreign international school. So I don't think it's a good idea for mixed kids. If you're a Japanese, whatever, it's fine. But I don't think I would do that if I were a Japanese person. So anyway, off of that, so like I said, it's overpriced. I get why people like it because it makes you feel comfortable, I imagine, as a mother, because you feel like you can, talk to the staff. If you have any problems, you can simply explain, what's wrong or ask them questions versus, seeming stupid when you go to pick up your child from a Japanese daycare. You can't communicate with the staff. You can't understand them, when they tell you what's wrong. But this is all the more reason to learn Japanese. So that's that. I can go on about that forever. I just think it's a bad idea. You're asking for your child to get bullied, it's overpriced, and they're not going to really learn English. The next issue that I have is, and I know people aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm just being realistic how things work in my home country. I would be damned if I'm going to pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars a month for my child to be learning English. No offense to my subscribers. I'm sorry. I'm just being real. And then the teacher isn't even a native speaker. So Not all schools do this, but most schools do have at least some non-native English speaking or even Japanese staff. And with that said, I mean, that's great for you that got the job, but realistically, as a parent, I don't want to spend all that money for my child to not really be in a real native English environment because naturally, as someone who's not a native speaker, more than likely you're going to make grammatical errors, whether it's when you talk, when you write, or whatever the case is, and children will and do pick up on that. I see it all the time. And beyond just being, snobby or whatever, trying to act like I'm better than you, I get it, you can't help where you were born or from. The same problem goes for those that don't have degrees, especially in relevant topics. So as you know, degrees are only needed in Japan to secure a visa, not for the job itself. Now, while most jobs do say that they prefer that you have a degree and they list all these crazy things they want you to have and do, it's not a requirement. It only means that if they do get another applicant that has these things, they're obviously going to choose that know-it-all, goody-goody two-shoe teacher that has, the ability to play the guitar and piano and, that has a master's in education and that's been teaching for 20 years. The reality is those type of teachers don't normally come to Japan because they aren't going to get paid for what they're worth. And number two, the likelihood of them applying for the same position as you is pretty much slim to none. You will be hired based off of being young and cute and being a native English speaker is what it all comes down to. So my problem is you're paying the same amount regardless of how good the teacher is, regardless of how qualified they are or are not. You still have to pay the same amount of money. And excuse my voice, like I said, I sound like I'm on drugs. With that said, it's a scam, basically. You're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for your child to learn nothing from someone who's not qualified, not a native speaker, doesn't have a degree in education, doesn't really know how to teach, and it's just money down the drain. So, beyond that, now to get into the dark side of things. My biggest problem that I have with international schools, and arguably Japanese schools in general, is there is no protection for your students. So, after having worked at more places than I would like to proudly say that I have, I noticed that when I looked at reviews for the places that I've worked at, there were a lot of allegations that I came across of child abuse, both physical and sexual. And the sexual part is what shocked me the most, obviously. That scares me. And when I thought about it more and more, I realized this is a much deeper, bigger issue. And what I came down to the conclusion of all of this is Japan doesn't like, it's like a cultural thing. They don't like to get involved in anything. They will avoid conflict at all costs, even if it means sacrificing your morals. They just don't want to get involved in any kind of drama. And I think it's really sad because their want to be perfect, to look perfect, to avoid intervening or interfering with other people's lives. I feel like that type of attitude, that type of mentality is exactly the reason why people kill themselves, why these problems exist, and why there is, I don't really want to say that there's a problem with it, but there is. There is a problem with sex in Japan. Not with people running around and groping and grabbing people, but the way that Japanese men view women. Not just Japanese girls, but foreign ones too. And I think this shows the most when they deal with foreign women. And what I'm getting at is, it is almost like people joke about how Indians, talk to people. But it's like, have y'all never been to Japan? Japanese guys are arguably worse. The difference is that I feel like people give Japanese men a pass because they find them to be attractive or more attractive. And people like Japan. So they ignore it, and instead of it being creepy and ew, like, get away from me, don't talk to me, it's like the hot celebrity that has money. He can get women to come and sleep with him in bed and use them, and they gladly suck his dick and have his babies, and nobody thinks anything of it. But if it were a poor guy that doesn't have money, that's not attractive, and you try sliding in girls' DMs and saying, hey, I'm going to fly you out to wherever, then it's like, ew, no, or you simply don't reply. Well, I feel that's how people treat Japanese men as a whole. They're not held to the same standards as Black, Indian, whatever other race of men. people instead either see it as, oh, he, cute, oh, husbando. It's just like a flattering, cute, nobody finds it strange. But as I said, there is a difference, and I don't see them talk to Japanese girls the same way most of the time. But it does happen with women too, Japanese girls. And so I'm not trying to divide foreign women with Japanese women. I'm staying on topic. And what I'm getting at is, I feel like there's a fear to even go forward to talk about sexual assault, to talk about sexual abuse, because nobody wants to get involved. If anything, you make everyone uncomfortable when you talk about this, because they don't want to have to ask someone, hey, such and such said that you did this to them. Is that true? And at best, that's all they're going to do. Hey, this person accused you of whatever. Did you or did you not? You say no, you're out, scotch-free, good to go. Very little investigating goes. They try to brush everything under the rug and say it was an excuse. It's a misunderstanding. You don't have the right. You shouldn't have been here. The blame always goes back on the victim. And it's not just women, little boys too. And I feel so much sorry. You know, grown men can have it happen too. But I feel like men get overlooked. And it's because it's like emasculating, so to speak, for you to say that you've been touched, especially by another man. I think I talked about this before in another video. But I actually dated a guy back in Tokyo who told me about being sexually abused, by a teacher, as well as how he had been touched on a train before. He told a story about how he had a guy who took his umbrella and put it in between his legs. And this was while he was an elementary school student. I think he was 8 years old or something like that. And so he was saying that wasn't the only time this happened, that he's had other stuff, similar to that take place. And so I know that this stuff happens everywhere in the world. Japan is no exception to that. But I think the bigger problem is that countries like America, we're talking about it more. It's okay to come forward. In fact, it's become so acceptable. Now we have people that even unfortunately lie about, being raped or sexually assaulted. And I don't know, maybe Japan fears that happening. But even if that is the case, that's no excuse to ignore victims or to make it where potential victims can't come forward. Because now you're just opening up a door for those that are abusive. And so, anyway, before I get too dragged off into that, my problem is the country is already set up where you're not going to talk if something does happen to you. And then I feel to make matters even worse is that beyond the fact that people don't want to get involved and they don't want to come forward, then it's like when you do, then what you're saying doesn't get believed. It gets brushed off and they make up new laws, new excuses. They use, let me turn it off. They use the fine print in the clause or in the contract to make up an excuse for why this may have happened or why you may have misunderstood something. At the end of the day, the adult men, the people in power, they will always have the final word, the last, whatever say. And if you're a child, or if you're someone that, isn't in a position of power, you're weak, you're useless, and your words mean nothing. That's exactly how they treat you here. And it goes beyond just, sexual situations, although that's what this video is about. I remember reading several different posts, but specifically one that stood out with a guy, a white man. I believe he was Canadian, which means he can't be a liar, right? Like Eric. But anyway, he was saying, he told a story in the comments about how a Japanese guy hit him with a scar and sped off, and that he took pictures, got the license plate and everything, and the Japanese police looked at it, said they would look for the guy, came back a week later claiming that they couldn't find him and brushed off the case. Sounds legit. So beyond just the cultural differences and backgrounds with how they deal with, situations like that, my other problem is that Japan is too trusting. Not just the school, but the people, the parents. They don't get a lot of time to get to know or meet the staff. It's literally just, hi, I'm Gaijin-san, nice to meet you. I'm going to be teaching your kid English. Yeah, give me money, pay me, support me, give me my salary. That's basically all you do. Very generic speech, if you even have to give them. And so, they don't do background checks in Japan. Mind blown. Yeah, I know. They don't do background checks. They do not check to see if you have a criminal record. They do not check to see, what happened at your previous job. Nothing. They take your word for everything that you say about your work history. They take your word for having a clean record. They don't even ask about that. They simply ask, can you do the job? Can you teach? Why do you want to work here? Why do you like Japan? Oh, you like anime? Hired. Stuff that has nothing to do with it. They know that you're going to quit, and they don't care. And the saddest thing is that some employers will, make you go through long demo lessons, etc. But it's like, okay, why do you not want to know more about your staff, more about your teachers, especially those that are dealing with younger students? They're dealing with and working with kids one-on-one, especially when you have men that are specifically with, female girl students. Not to say that women can't do stuff too, but obviously there's more likely to be issues. Hate to stereotype, just being real, when you have men involved with younger children. And the reality is most of the people here teaching in Japan are men by far. In fact, so much so that normally schools specifically request female teachers. Females are the first to go home. They're the least interested in Japanese people because normally foreign girls don't like Asian men. It's facts. Different reasons for why, but it's just the reality. They get tired of being here, they go home. And even the ones that do end up with Asian men, they normally choose to move back to their home country, whether it be in Europe, America, wherever. It's honestly frightening and really scary just thinking of the fact that not only are you leaving your child, at school where no matter who the staff is, anything can happen, but foreign staff that can just get up, leave, run away from the country. Their country may or may not even have some type of deal, where if something happens, they can be brought back to Japan and, tried or whatever. These schools normally don't have cameras. They don't do background checks. There's no security cameras. They just trust you. They don't care if you're licensed. They don't care if you have a degree. They just want you to be fluent in English, if even that, or willing to learn, and they'll hire you. And you honestly get a lot of time alone with these kids. And there's a lot of inappropriate situations. So, for example, again, I won't say the name of this company, but one of the biggest problems that I have with one of my jobs, I don't teach this class, but the preschool class that they have, they allow the staff, and this is what they're supposed to do, they go to the bathroom, in the bathroom stall, with the students. And mind you, that one of the staff whose job this is a guy. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't want a man taking my child to the bathroom. It's one thing for you to take them there, lead them to the restroom, but I don't like you being in the bathroom with them, and I most certainly don't want you in the stall with the door shut because I don't know what's going on in there. It gets worse, you guys. Before they go to the bathroom, they're required to take off their pants all together before they go to the bathroom because they want to avoid them having accidents and wetting themselves. So this way, if they do, miss, or if they do pee a little bit, it doesn't go, in their clothes and gets all nasty, and you know how that can be. So, I understand why they want to do that, but it's like, are you asking to have problems? So if it's not bad enough that you have a foreign man in the bathroom with your child that you don't know, that never had a background check, that could be a sexual predator, that could be a rapist, that could have murdered someone or God knows what in his home country, in the bathroom with your kid, with the stall shut. And even if it's open, why do you, no, just change the diaper. And I don't even want a man changing my kid's diaper, just being real. If you ain't, related to me, you're not my child's father, I don't even like the idea of that. But I'm just being honest. Everybody's open to their own thing. I know, oh, you're sexist, you're whatever. I don't care, I'm saying it like it is. You're asking to have problems. Why are they removing their pants? I would rather take home my pissy baby, my big pissy 3-year-old, and have to, run to the dollar store and buy some pants or whatever to take them home on a train. Or better yet, I mean, the kids have extra changes of clothes at the school. I guess they're afraid of them going through all of them because, you know, they're there all day so they can have more than an accident. I don't know. I don't want you touching my child when they go to the bathroom. I don't. I don't trust you. I don't know you. You've never had a background check. You can be from anywhere and could have done anything. I don't know your background. And while I do believe in redemption that people can change, I don't want to take chances with my own kid. Definitely not without supervision. And then, like, the problem is, I feel like this stems into something else. I know that people will say, like, oh, like, you know, it's your fault if you're sexualizing children, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I do agree with that. But we have to be real. And if we lived in a perfect world, we could dress however we want to and not care. Because we don't live in a perfect world, you trying to be so body positive and saying, oh, they're children, you're sexualizing them. You're making pedophiles happy as fuck. They're like, wow, I love, you know, these parents that allow their babies to wear bikinis and whatnot. No, any sane man, woman, whatever, should not be turned on by a child's body. They definitely shouldn't be touching one either. But the reality is, they do. People are. It's sick, it's wrong, it's twisted, but it happens. And with that said, why would you want to set your child up for that? If you're an adult and you want to do that, cool. But for a kid, give them the option to do that when they're older. Not even old enough to decide, but I mean grown. Because there's a lot of dumb stuff that you do when you're young that you'll regret when you're older. And no, I'm not getting entirely off subject. I'm going somewhere with this. My problem with all of this at the end of the day is that it's like the parents have no idea. I get it that different countries do stuff differently, but I can't explain it. I would think that people would be really concerned about who the foreign staff is. So like I said, they just do a really simple, quick introduction and there's no real background taken into consideration. And the parents have in their mind that because you're a foreigner, you're an English expert. They don't really care if you have a degree or not. They're just like, oh, they're going to be in an English environment. Great, please teach my kid English. And it's like, if teaching your child English or having my kid learn English means sacrificing, you know, their, I don't even know what to call it, their rights as a human being. I hate to use the word virginity with talking about such a young kid, but that just bothers me. And so, like I was saying, I feel the same way when it comes to clothing. So like a lot of these girls, because they're so young, excuse me, I have to cough, that's why my eyes are red and watery. But a lot of these girls, because they're young, their parents dress them in ways that obviously adult Japanese girls would not be dressed unless they're a hoe or young or trying to live their life before they start working. Well, a lot of the girls come to school literally with their panties practically showing and wearing either short skirts and dresses or the dress or skirt is long, but they're kids, so we're going to be running around, playing on swings, etc. And the part that really bothers me about my job is beyond, you know, really all of this bothers me, but beyond just the fact that the teachers, I don't feel like all of them should be trusted around these kids. I've seen some strange stuff. I feel you can't even talk about your speculations that you have about students. So for example, in America, there's a higher up that you can speak to about concern about what's going on at home with a student. In Japan, if you have the nerve, the audacity to accuse, suggest anything inappropriate is going on at home, it probably costs you your job. I have brought up cases a couple of times, and each time that I did, it was brushed off. I will even use the place that I'm at right now, you guys, being totally honest. There are a few students, two in particular, one is a boy, one is a girl, and I know that kids, they do stuff out of innocence. I did a lot of weird stuff. Like, I'll tell you guys a really weird story real fast. I remember, but see, that's because I was being sexually abused. So, I don't know if this is a normal thing, but this is what I'm talking about. See, parents miss these signs and so do schools. I used to make my toys have sex with each other. I used to, make my toys have genitals. I remember I had a Sonic the Hedgehog doll when I was, I think, 5 years old. And I took my kitchen sets, it was a corn on the cob, and I made it his dick. And I was laughing and running around and chasing my brother with it. And my dad got so angry. I don't know if I got a whooping or what that day. I forgot. Like, whatever happened was that bad. I blacked out. I got in huge trouble for it. And so, but my, family, like my mom, like when she saw me do weird stuff, she was like, did anybody do whatever? And so I lied and said no. But in Japan, that'll never happen. It'll just be laughter. Like, oh, she's flashing her panties. Oh, she's, rubbing her clit in front of everyone. I'm not kidding you guys. I've seen some weird stuff teaching in school. And I'm not talking about stuff where it's like, oh, just kids being weird. Like, I know kids will like dig in their clothes and do stuff that makes them feel good. But, you know when you know. And as someone who has personally been sexually assaulted, abused, molested, both at church and at school and debatably at home, I feel like I'm seeing myself. The stuff that I've seen some of these students do, I know they got from someone else, and there's no way in hell that they did this on their own. There's learned behavior, and the fact that they're not only doing it to themselves, but I see them do weird stuff to other students. So like if I see something, I'll tell them to stop and tell them that's inappropriate. But it's like, I can't see and do everything. I need help, I need backup, I need support. You have to be on my side and on my team too. And I feel like because the culture here is so different, people want to keep their money. So the teachers, the school, not just the teachers, but like the manager, the owners of these schools, the principals, they don't want to do anything that'll shine light on problems that are going on in their students' homes because they don't want to make their school seem problematic. And they'll lose students. They don't want to lose money. Because if you were to ever go to one of these parents and be like, your child has been doing some strange stuff, like we saw her trying to finger another one of the students. And she's so young, so, I don't know if she got this from someone else or she saw something or what. If you were to even bring up the fact they did something strange, two things would happen. Either the parent would get angry and take their child out of the school, or the parent would, be embarrassed and remove their child from the school. They're not going to keep their kid, and I can't entirely blame them. But I feel like, a normal person would be like, really? My child's been doing that? I don't know where, they could have got that from. And they want to research and look into it more. Maybe they'll get angry. I know some people will get angry. But some people will thank you and be like, I've never seen my kid do this, really? The problem might be coming from school. We're not necessarily saying that it's coming from home, even though that can be the case. But I feel like, one, they need to screen teachers. Background checks need to be done. And two, there needs to be some type of way for us as teachers to report issues. I feel like, they have ways to do that. But when you do it, you're not listened to. And instead, it's like, oh, come on, bitch. Like, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Shut up and just teach. Like, we're not asking you to try to, play Dr. Phil and figure out what's going on in these kids' personal lives. Just teach the lesson. Take care of them. As long as they're not dead. Nobody got hit by a car today. Nobody's burned. Everyone has their teeth in their mouth. Don't talk about issues. They don't want to hear about physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse. And I had even seen the teachers, do stuff that I thought was inappropriate. I understand, yelling at kids when they get out of hand, but it's like, sometimes I feel like they've overreacted over little stuff that the kids have done, especially considering their ages. And then, even the way that they deal with smaller things. Now, mind you, when I'm talking about the overreacting and the dealing of food, this is with the Japanese staff this time at international school, so not even the foreigners. I talked about this in my videos where I was ranting about my job. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that Japanese moms especially do not throw away their kids' food or not give them a replacement if they drop something by accident. I think no matter how old the child is, imagine if, your 2-year-old dropped their food. Now I get it, as a parent, you're pissed. You're like, I spent all that time cooking that. I spent all that money. And you wasted that food. You probably want to smack the crap out of it. But you remember, you're the mommy, you're the daddy. You have to grow up, be an adult, and understand that you drop food and spilled stuff too. And that people make mistakes. And it's your fault for not having your child sitting properly and watching them as they eat. Because if you were, it probably wouldn't have happened. Well, with that said, are you seriously going to make that kid starve because they dropped their food? And the same thing goes with their dessert. They ate all of their food so that they could eat their dessert, they drop the dessert, and you're like, oh, too bad, be more careful next time. I'd be so pissed off. I ate those nasty vegetables, that nasty cold rice, and now you're telling me I can't have, my dessert, which is basically fruit, like a strawberry or whatever. I'd be angry, especially if I dropped it by accident. And that's too high of standards for a 3 or 4-year-old. They're a freaking little kid. That's bound to happen. So it goes beyond just, the little stuff like that with food, even though that's kind of big and important to me too. The parents are paying for this food, might I add. And they are paying for their child to be taken care of, not just taught. I would be very angry if I found out that was going on. Beyond just that, because the parents don't know about these little rules. These are stuff that we do as teachers. I don't like the fact that, like I said, teachers don't have background checks done. There are allegations that the staff at these schools have either physically or sexually abused these kids at different schools. Not every school has this. I wouldn't even say most. But Japan has a problem with this too. There have been several articles about Japanese teachers, recording students in bathrooms and, sexually assaulting people and stalking their students and all type of weird happosai, master roshi type weird stuff. So they have an issue too, but I feel like they're making it even worse when they have foreign staff that are, adding to it when it can all be prevented with both people, both Japanese and foreign staff. But I feel like the problem is amplified because I feel like with foreigners, just being real, I do personally think this is a bigger problem outside of Japan dealing with incest and child rape and sexual assault, etc. Although I don't know statistics on this, I can be wrong. I'm just telling you what I honestly think. But even then, I felt like the statistics are already, not right because Japanese people don't come forward when stuff does happen. They keep it to themselves, they hold it in, and they're more likely to probably kill themselves than they are to ever tell a soul what really took place to them because they're embarrassed, they're ashamed of it, and they make up excuses for why it happened. And it's not like how it is in America where you blame yourself like, oh, he only did this because I let him. No, it's more like I deserve this, or, it's kind of like that, but I can't really explain it. It's more genuine. I feel like in America, people say that to avoid hurting people that they love because they didn't want to believe the person they love was capable of hurting them. In Japan, they'll protect a total stranger if it means avoiding confrontation and avoiding having the spotlight put on them. Most people don't find any joy in getting attention because they've been a victim of rape or assault. Whereas in foreign countries, America's not alone, Europe too, a lot of people actually find it empowering nowadays, just being real. And even in the past, people enjoy lying, people enjoy attention, people want money. They want, to have that victim mentality or whatever. They like what comes with it. People sympathize for them. It sounds a lot better to say that you got raped than to say, oh, I'm pregnant because I was being a hoe and I had sex with 12 different guys and ended up getting pregnant. Yeah. People will sympathize for you. You were raped and you chose to keep the baby, so I'm not going to get into politics with you guys. I'm simply explaining that this is totally different here in Japan. So I will wrap this up here. This video is over an hour long now. I'm so sorry for going off for so long. But anyway, long story short, my problems at international schools are the teachers are normally not qualified and aren't good teachers. The work is too hard. Your students aren't really learning English here. They're just being put in an English environment, aka being lectured in English and doing games in English in which none of the vocabulary that they've learned is going to ever be used in the real world. If you have a biracial child, you're asking for them to get teased because now they're going to have an accent because they're going to be speaking English all day. They're probably still going to get teased a little bit because they still look different. Most of the students at international schools are still Japanese. And on top of that, there are some iffy situations. There's no cameras. You have foreign teachers that haven't had background checks, no screening, no degree, no license, no nothing. And a lot of people that I've met here, particularly from Europe, I have no idea why, are actually running away from cases that they have in the UK. I don't know why. I'm not trying to come at my Brits, but I'm just saying. I have met 3 guys here that have admitted that they're living in Japan, have switched between Japan and the Philippines because they were involved in, fraud, stealing people's financial information. And one guy that said that I can't even explain it to you guys. Long story short, he wouldn't tell me in any great detail. And I'm no longer in contact with this guy, but this guy scared the crap out of me. That's why I lost contact with him. He admitted to me that he was in connection with the murder of someone and claimed that he didn't do it, but that he, was basically not really an accessory, but is that what they would call it? He knew the person that did something, and he was going to be brought in for questioning, and he fled the country. I don't know if he was telling the truth or not. I believed him though, because he told his little story in great detail. I didn't ask him that. He seemed a little bit off, and it was very clear that he was womanizing and living it up in the Philippines. So that's all a whole nother story. So I'm done. Like I said, I don't like the fact that there's too much trust in the teachers here. I don't like the fact there's no background checks. There's too much potential alone time with the teachers and individual students, particularly men with female students. I do not want a grown 40, 50-year-old hairy white guy in the bathroom with my daughter. Just being real. I don't trust that. I don't trust men with beards. But I can't do that. I can't. And I don't see who thought it was a good idea to have the children stripped to their nothing. I don't know if that's how normal Japanese schools go, but this is not a normal Japanese school. It's international school. You're dealing with foreign staff. You're dealing with, students even. The students oftentimes will go into the bathroom stalls together, and you have to tell them, hey, we don't do that here. Don't look at his genitals. No, don't touch them. Let him pee. Like weird stuff like that. It's like you're setting them up to be a little bit too comfortable with their private parts in front of their peers. And it's just a recipe for disaster. Japan has its own problems with Japanese teachers and staff. Like I said, do not get me wrong. But I'm staying on topic with international schools since I am a foreigner. I am a foreign teacher. I work at an international school. And if I do choose to have children with my current boyfriend, they will be mixed race and they will be half Japanese, half black. And I would never in 1,000 years put them inside of an international school. They will learn English from home, and I might pay for private lessons. But they are not going to international school. It's a waste of money, waste of time. They're going to be stupid once they leave. And you wasted your money down a drain. It exposes them to English and different looking people, aka the exotic gaijin toy teachers. But they're not learning anything other than not making fun of people that look different. But that's that. I'm done. Again, this is just my own personal experience, personal take on it. Japan has a problem with sexual abuse. They don't like to talk about it. It gets thrown under the rug. People don't want to accuse or suggest or hint or ask anyone if they've done or if they've seen anything. And if you do speak up, it'll cost you your job, cost you your student, or worse. And so nobody wants to. And it's really sad. I feel so sorry for these children because I don't even think their parents talk to them about how people shouldn't touch them here or do whatever. And I feel like that just makes matters even worse. You have to let them know what's okay and what's not okay. Otherwise, kids will let anyone do anything to them. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, helpful, whatever, insightful, is that even a word? Please like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And I hope you will watch another video. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I have a Snapchat and Facebook page as well. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.